Today we're going to be touring the Holland America Eurodam. At over 86,000 gross tons, she carries more than 2,100 passengers and 900 crew on 11 passenger decks. She was built in 2007 and christened by Queen Beatrix. Holland America Eurodam is an absolutely beautiful ship, and we're excited to take you on a full tour of everything she's got to offer. Stick with us until the end, and I'll show you some of our favorite places on the ship and give you a couple of little tips and tricks for the best places to be on an Alaskan cruise.
Now we're going to take this tour roughly top to bottom. We're going to start on the panorama deck, that's deck 11. We're going to start all the way forward at the crow's nest. The crow's nest is the area that you're going to get directed to if you are asking for coffee. Most folks on the ship are going to point you here, and they have both hot and iced coffee drinks. And you can see the menu board here that we're going to approach in a second. If you want to, you can freeze frame there and see what the options are and what prices were as of May of 2025. Now, this place is a great place to go, but it can be pretty busy during peak times. In the mornings, especially, you're going to have long lines of people, and things get pretty active here in the crow's nest. It's one of the few places on the ship where you can find coffee, and also because there is competition for seating around the outer perimeter of the crow's nest area. As you can see, there are some loungers there. There are places where you can sit with a group of 3 or 4 and just enjoy a coffee and kind of plan out your day or recap your day if you're coming there toward the end. But the real competition for seating starts early in the morning here at these loungers, because on days where there are scenic things to see, you can get some really beautiful views. Keep this in mind, especially if you're somewhere like Hubbard Glacier, as in this shot, because it can be nice and warm here, and you do not necessarily have to be out on deck 3 or on the Lido deck where it can be pretty cold. You can have some nice comfortable seats here, a warm drink, if you time it right and if you're willing to deal with some competition from the crowds. Now, around the side here, you're going to see an area that's dedicated a little more to gaming. You're going to see checkers, chess, and then they have some nice decoration here for the game room. We saw lots of people having fun assembling puzzles over the course of the cruise in a few locations here on deck 11. And then there was a large rack of various board games, probably more than 10 or 15 different board games that people could choose from. I saw the Game of Life, I saw Sorry, I saw Risk, so lots of options. The Shore Excursions desk is also located here on deck 11, so this is where you would speak to someone if you wanted to book a shore excursion or had questions about your shore excursion. So now we're leaving the crow's nest area. Now here's a little navigational tip for getting around the ship. Deck 11, being the top deck, is an incomplete deck. You have to go down to deck 10 to get between the front and back parts of deck 11, and you can only use the front elevators to get to the crow's nest. The rear and mid elevators are not going to take you to the crow's nest. We're going to take a look at this little area called the retreat up on deck 11, just behind the crow's nest. I believe this is intended to be an extra fee space, but I didn't see anything about that while I was on the ship. It was pretty cold out here. This area was not in much demand. I never really saw anybody up there. As you can see, there are some private cabanas. You could probably ask someone about whether you'd be able to book this area, but access did not seem restricted during the time I was there. On the rear section of deck 11, at the aftmost section, you have a sports court with a pickleball area and a basketball area if you're interested in playing some sports. Again, a little chilly on this particular cruise to Alaska. There is a stairwell leading from deck 11 down to deck 10, and it's kind of an interesting place to go if you have interest in ship awards. The Eurodam's inaugural sailing was in 2008, and since that time it's been accumulating various awards and recognitions and declarations of friendship from the various ports that it's visited. So you could really spend some time here going through all the various plaques and distinctions that the ship has accumulated if that was something that you were interested in. And from here you take this stairway down, and it's going to lead you onto deck 10. So this stairwell is toward the rear of the ship, traveling down from where the sports court is. It's going to take us out to an exterior walkway. This walkway does not travel the entire circumference of the ship because toward the front of the ship you have a number of staterooms on deck 10, and those are balcony staterooms, and so the deck doesn't go around outside of those balcony staterooms. Instead, what you've got is a partial walkway here. It's going to include a shuffleboard court. There are going to be some beanbag toss games if you're interested in playing those. This area was not very heavily trafficked or visited, so if you wanted a private place to kind of hang out and play those games, this would be a great place to go. As we're traveling here, we're moving again from the rear of the ship toward the midsection, the middle of the ship. There's a door right here that's going to lead us inside. Now, at the time that I was doing this tour, you can see it was actually blocked off, but through the magic of editing, we pop inside, and there are some restrooms there on the right. Now, the Kids Club has 2 access points, so this is the first one, and you would drop your kids off here at this portion of deck 10 if you were leaving them with Club Hal. This is called the Loft, and it has a section here called High Score, which seemed to be an arcade area for teens. I did not see any adults in either of these sections. Certainly they wouldn't be in Club Hal, but I don't think they're in High Score either. That door there on the left with the yellow tape across it's kind of interesting. There were several spaces at several times during the cruise where exterior spaces were blocked off. I did not go out there during those times. I assumed that it was done for safety. It tended to happen when we were having rough, windy days. Here toward the rear of deck 10, you have some really beautiful deck space where you can stand and enjoy the views. Again, a little less visited than deck 9, the Lido deck down below. We're now going to travel down to the Lido deck. So this view is of the aft of the ship, the wake from the Lido deck portion. And you can see here what the rear deck looks like. Many events are held out here. Wildlife viewing events tend to be located out here. Something to think about: when the ship visits spaces like Hubbard Glacier, for example, it has to turn around, and so they tend to concentrate people toward the front of the ship on the bow, but you could conceivably stand here on the back deck and get just as good a view because the ship has to turn, and so there probably won't be as many people here. You have a pool on deck 9, and then you have a hot tub. Here's the view from the hot tub. Quite a brisk experience if you want to go outside in 40 or 50 degree weather and sit in the hot tub. Pretty easy to get in, a little tougher, a little bit more brisk to get out of this thing on a 40 or 50 degree day. It could be a little chilly. So proceeding from here, you have the New York pizza area. And this is where folks can order their pizza. You can order the pizza through the mobile app if that's something that you want to do, and then you'll get notification when your pizza is ready. You can also come up here and order in person, and they'll hand you a buzzer, and that buzzer will go when the pizza is ready. You can pause here if you want to see the menu in some detail. This was all included, and so with your cruise fare, you can get any of these pizzas. Now, on some cruise lines, the pizza place will be open 24 hours. This was not the case for New York Pizza. I think the latest it was open was around 11:30 p.m. and it would close overnight. The pizzeria also offered gluten-free pizza for those with dietary restrictions. You have the Seaview bar here at the rear of the ship. Be careful here. This is a smoking area, so if you like to smoke, that's where you'd want to go. If you don't like the smell of smoke, then you don't want to exit the Lido on that side. You'd want to exit on the other side. There's 2 sides to the Lido, and you could go out on the non-smoking side and not have quite as much smoke to breathe in. Here inside the Lido, you've got plenty of space for folks to sit and eat. It did get pretty busy a couple times during really popular times, like if you have a sea day or a port day and everybody's coming on back on the ship at the same time around noon, which happened a couple times, then this will get packed and you might have to go out to the Lido pool in order to get some seating. We didn't have any trouble finding seating is if we take the Lido pool into account. There were a couple times where the interior Lido was pretty full, but there was always space out here. Now, this Lido pool deck did tend to get a little chilly, especially overnight and in the mornings. It does not seem to be as climate controlled as other areas of the ship. You can see they have sun loungers here. This dome remains covered, at least throughout the time that we were cruising in May. It remained completely covered. It is possible to open. You can see some gears there up toward the center, but it remained closed for the duration of our cruise. Sometimes this pool, and of course any pool on a cruise ship during rougher seas, can get a little splashy. You have some showers here that you can use before you get in the pool, and then we have space to the spa. Now, on the other side of this glass is the hydrotherapy, or what they would call the hydrotherapy pool. And then here you have some ping pong tables. These did get quite a bit of use during the cruise. We saw a number of people enjoying ping pong. As we head back toward the spa, again here on the right, you're going to have the hydrotherapy pool. There were screens pulled down the entire time, and so it wasn't possible to see in or out from that pool onto the deck, but there are windows there, and if the screens were up, you would be able to see in or out. So this takes us back to the greenhouse spa. And beautiful decoration here. Beautiful decoration really throughout the entire ship, and again we'll see some more of that later. But I was really surprised. I think the Eurodam's probably the most beautifully decorated ship that I've been on. There was just really interesting art to take a look at almost anywhere that you went throughout the ship, and it was so striking that I did record a number of the things that I saw. As we go through this tour, you're going to see that. So heading back here through the spa area, this is where the fitness center as well as the thermal suite are located. The fitness center here, again, this is still on deck 9. We're now toward the front portion of deck 9. Hours at the fitness center, most of the days of our cruise were 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Very packed early in the morning for sure, extremely busy early in the mornings. You have cardio machines there, you have some recumbent bikes, you have ellipticals, and of course you have treadmills. As far as weights, I was fairly impressed by what the Eurodam had available. They had dumbbells up to 75 pounds, so if you want to work with free weights, and they had benches for folks to use with those free weights, and if you want to work with them, you can get up into some pretty good weight ranges. Gyms on land, I've seen limited at 100 pounds on the free weights, and they also had a Smith machine, so you can do squats and exercises of that type. Did not see a lot more weights than what you have on the rack here, so you may be a little limited there. You may have to do some more reps. Also, lots of lower weight hand weights, and then of course you're going to have plenty of machines that you can utilize on the ship. They had yoga mats and a space to do yoga. There were some scheduled fitness activities. As you can see, there's spin bikes here, and they also have a personal trainer on board. So pretty well stocked fitness center for a ship of the size and age that the Eurodam is. I was rather impressed by the fitness facilities on board. A lot of times you'll have fairly Spartan fitness options on some of these ships, and the Eurodam having that Smith machine there. I've seen it on a couple of ships now, but not very common, so it gives you a lot of opportunity. Here on the left we have changing rooms, men's and women's. I did not go in there with the camera, so you'll have to utilize your imagination for that, but it was a reasonably well appointed changing area. And then I'm going to freeze frame here. On the left is the thermal suite, on the right is the hydrotherapy. Now, inside the thermal suite here, you can see we have thermal loungers and an absolutely beautiful view. It was about $25 a day to access the thermal suite for a 7-day pass, so $179 on a 7-day cruise at the time that we booked it. And you can see it's a relatively small space for a thermal suite. One thing you're going to notice is there's no drinking water. There's not like the cups of water that you get in a lot of thermal suites. You have these few steam rooms here. There was supposed to be an aromatherapy room, a steam room, and a sauna. There was no real sauna, no wooden benches or anything like that. All the rooms were pretty well identical. They all looked like this. They all were relatively small, tile on the interior, and then they were just kind of steam rooms at varying temperatures, and then one of them had a knob that was broken off. Here's what the knob is supposed to look like. You might have seen that broken knob a little earlier. Now, I want to talk about these showers. Look at the top there. That looks like a rainfall shower area, right? But then you have just a regular shower head there. It almost looks like it was originally supposed to be one of these luxurious rainfall showers that you would have in a thermal suite where it, plays music or whatever. But, okay, you saw me hit the button there. So the way this shower works is you boop it, and then after you boop that knob, you can turn it right or left for hot or cold, and then it's gonna pour for like, I don't know, 15 or 20 seconds. So it works like one of those water-saving faucets, which kudos to Holland America for saving the environment, but not what you think of when you think of a luxury spa. Also, there was some stuff in poor repair, like that taps just doesn't have the handle on it, and these don't work. They're just decorative. You're gonna have to find a water fountain or bring a bottle of water with you. Now, I will say I didn't give Holland America the opportunity to fix these things. I didn't complain about it because for me, the thermal loungers and the hydrotherapy pool were more than sufficient to justify the cost. So I did enjoy my thermal suite experience, but these are things you're gonna wanna be aware of if you're thinking about doing the thermal suite. In my opinion, the highlight of the thermal suite is this hydrotherapy pool. There on the right, you can actually lay down. That bench actually allows you to lay all the way down, and then you can use that sprayer there in the back as a back massager. Very nice. Everything between decks 9 and 3 are passenger decks, so we're going to jump straight to deck 3. Here on deck 3, you have the entrance to the upper level of the world stage. The world stage is the major venue on the ship where they're going to hold production stage shows, and also where they're going to have any sort of events where large attendance is anticipated. Sometimes they'll have nature talks or magic shows here. The world stage extends from deck 3 all the way down to deck 1, so it's a triple level venue, and you can get into this venue from any of those decks. So here's an example of the world stage in use. I think I like these seats better than almost any seats that I've been in a venue like this. The armrests were relatively high and they were remarkably comfortable for seats in a major venue on a cruise ship like this. There was not a lot of space to put drinks though, so whereas many of these types of spaces will kind of have a lounge vibe and you'll have some tables there where you can put your drinks or set your bingo cards down or something like that, this space seemed to be more focused on packing in as much seating as possible. So there were not seats and there weren't even really cup holders here, so you're gonna have to improvise a little bit in terms of what you're gonna do with your drinks. They also had space for disability-friendly seating and companion seating, and then in addition to that, they had some larger seating that you can see here for guests who may need just a little bit more room in their chairs. So lots of space there for folks to enjoy themselves on the world stage. Now, continuing on out of that area here on deck 3, we're going to move now toward the rear of the ship from the front. So the world stage located again on 3 decks at the very front of the ship, and then there's a walkway here that's going to lead us back toward some additional spaces on deck 3. Again, beautiful decoration here on the ship. On the left-hand side as we proceed, you're going to see the library, and the library has some windows that look out onto the hallway. Let's go in here and check out the library and just take a look at what's in here. So the library allows you to check out books and take them with you on the ship. They do have some notices there asking that folks kindly return the books to the library, so apparently there's been a problem with people keeping the books, which is really sad. You know, if people continue to act that way, then unfortunately we're going to see spaces like this continue to disappear, not just on cruise ships, but throughout the world. Any place that depends on the goodwill of people, it's important to behave and sadly, a few folks can spoil it for the whole bunch. But here you have some seating. These curtains on the right actually give you windows that look out to the ocean or wherever the ship may be, and so a great place to have a view of the outside, sit and have a quiet moment and read. Really expansive library collection for a cruise ship, much more than what I expect to see on a ship, especially of this size. So if you're a reader, this is a great place to spend your time. There's a convenient book drop here for you. And then proceeding out from the library, you have a few conference areas, a few spaces for meetings, and you will see occasionally meetings occurring here. They will be often on the schedule of activities for the ship, and so if you want to attend one of those, this is where you would do that. There's also a jewelry collection here, jewelry store. Mirabella is the Holland America branded jewelry store on board. They sometimes have giveaways, drawings, or other events, so keep an eye on the cruise schedule in your app, or delivered to your stateroom, or sometimes available at guest services. Now, at the time that I was doing this tour, it was early in the morning, and so you have the grates down and the shops are closed. However, I did manage to get some footage when the shops were open, and it's what you'd expect in a cruise ship shop. Expansive jewelry section for you to peruse if that is of your interest, and then typical souvenirs and some clothing, also some emergency supplies, medications, snacks, candy, things of that nature. They had some pretty interesting jewelry in their collection, certainly something that you might want to take a look at if you are interested, and then some very unique looking purses, magnets if you want those. They had plenty of those. They had some art as well if you'd like to look at some art. And they also had ulu knives, which I thought was pretty remarkable. Now, I assume if you buy one of these ulu knives, they're going to hold on to it for you until you leave the ship. You can also buy yourself an existential crisis if you want to. So now we're heading back toward the space known as the Ocean Bar. We're going to proceed through the midship stairwell and elevator lobby. There are 3 elevator lobbies on the ship. One forward, one rear, one midship, and the midship elevator lobby actually has some really beautiful glass elevators that you can use to go up and down. The elevators at the very front of the ship are going to be the ones that you're going to use to get all the way up to deck 11, where the crow's nest is that you saw earlier. So the elevators at the mid or rear of the ship are not going to take you that high. Now, the Ocean Bar is one of 12 bars and lounges located around the Eurodam. Here is a statue of Poseidon, another example of just the beautiful art that you can find all over the ship. I really like the layout of this space. These corner booths are really well positioned in these alcoves with windows that look out over the ocean, and just a lot of comfortable seating here in this area. Plenty of space to spread out, plenty of tables to put your drinks or snacks on. Wonderful space. You have an atrium here that looks down on both decks 2 and 1. That space right there, that is the Pinnacle grill. And then you have a lounge area down on deck 1. And this is also, here on deck 1 is where you can see guest services. And we'll get to that a little later. We'll continue on with the tour here on deck 3. But this is the closest thing that the Holland America Eurodam has to like a big atrium area. So then we're going to continue proceeding toward the rear of the ship through deck 3, through the Ocean Bar space. Now, we've been seeing more and more on cruise ships and also in some touristy areas in port, something called iris photography, and I'm going to get into that a little more in just a minute, but first I want to talk about binoculars. In just a second, you're going to see that they sell binoculars here on the cruise ship, and if you buy binoculars on the cruise ship, you can expect to pay cruise ship prices for those binoculars. My recommendation would be that you bring binoculars with you if you're going on an Alaskan cruise. It's definitely going to be worth it. Lots of wildlife to see. You may want to use them at Glacier Bay or Hubbard Glacier. Now, back to the iris photography. What they're going to do is take up a close-up picture of your iris, and you can do just yours, or you can do yours and a loved one together, and then you can get that as a piece of art, either on paper or a canvas frame or on steel. And so lots of options if that's something that you're interested in. A little unusual and quirky, something that you may want to place in your office. So now we're going to proceed to the rear elevator bank, and in back of the rear elevator bank you have the main dining room. And the main dining room exists on deck 3 and 2, so it's a two deck dining room here, located at the very rear of the ship. It's got windows to the outside, as you can see, ample seating for large parties, and you can see that rail there has sort of an interesting step down to almost like a 2.5 level. There's like a floor 2.5 with a few tables there. Really unusual, something I haven't seen in a lot of places. And then the dining area continues down on deck 2, as you can see. So we're just going to take a minute and explore this space so you can get a sense of it, see the windows there, and get a sense of the scope and scale of the dining room here on the Holland America Eurodam. Now, if you are enjoying this video, if you're enjoying this tour, then please don't forget to like and subscribe. We really appreciate having you guys along. Really appreciate you all enjoying our content. Please feel free to comment below if you have any suggestions or observations, or if you're excited about something you see, or if you have any questions. Please don't forget to share those in the comments below. Some seating here for parties of 2. You may be aware cruise ships will often have a communal seating arrangement where they'll seat different parties together, and sometimes it's nice to just sit with somebody you know and have a little privacy, so it's good to see those tables available for parties of 2. Those tables will be in high demand, so be sure to ask about them quickly. Here's a ship model. There were several models like this around the ship, and then you also have some of that Delft pottery here, which is a nod to Holland America's Dutch origins. Really beautiful stuff.
We are on the walkway on deck 3, which encircles the entire ship. It can provide some really stunning views when the ship is in scenic areas, and since it encircles the entire ship, it makes a pretty good running track if that's what you want. There are some really nice quiet spots to hang out, and if the weather's good, you can do some reading or some relaxing. On our cruise to Alaska, it was fairly cold, so we didn't spend a lot of time outside necessarily. We would go back inside and warm up a little bit and then come back out to enjoy the fantastic views. But deck 3 has you much closer to the water level, and so if you're looking at wildlife, or you're looking at things on shore, or you just want to be further down closer to the sea where you can hear the surf, deck 3 is a fantastic place to be on the Eurodam.
So we are now on deck 2. The dining room is behind us, and we are proceeding toward the front of the ship. On the right here is the portrait studio. Clearly a converted lounge space, but this gets used as a portrait studio, especially on formal nights. The photographers will be here and you can get some pictures taken. This is the Explorer's Lounge, and it is one of my favorite parts of the ship. It's a venue used for smaller presentations, but it's not in use most of the time, and these chairs are really comfortable. There's a great window close to the waterline. You can do some reading here. Really great place to just relax. Continuing toward the front of the ship, we have the art gallery here. Now, this is a Park West space, so if you're familiar with Park West at sea and the art auctions that they do, this is their space on board the ship. They will also expand and sometimes occupy lounges on the ship when they are having their auctions, but there will be art here that will be for sale, so you can browse throughout this space and peruse the art, purchase anything that you're interested in. Here on the right we have the Pinnacle bar. It is a wine-focused bar that sits across from the Pinnacle grill. and the Pinnacle bar is a place where we tended to see people hanging out and relaxing before they went in and had their dinner at the Pinnacle Grill. Also a popular place on sea days for people to sit. I saw a lot of people playing cards in here even when the bar itself was not open, just spending some time here on deck 2. And then across the way here you can see the Pinnacle Grill. We were looking from the 3rd level of this same atrium a little earlier in the video. And then we proceed across and we can kind of see a little bit more detail inside the Pinnacle Grill itself. Now, the Pinnacle Grill is one of the premium dining experiences here on the Eurodam. It joins the Canaletto and the Tamarind Grill, the Tamarind being a more Pan-Asian dining place. Canaletto is Italian, and the Pinnacle Grill, as you can see here, is a steakhouse. You can pause here on this screen to get a look at the menu. They have some additional things like lobster for an upcharge over and above what you would pay with just the cover for getting into the Pinnacle Grill. We did have a dinner at the Pinnacle Grill during our time on the ship and really enjoyed it. It was very good. Throughout the ship, in various places, you have some of these smaller ship models that will be in display cases, and even larger ship models distributed throughout the ship. They can be a lot of fun to just kind of stop and take a look at. They have a considerable amount of detail in them. We're now proceeding from the Pinnacle bar area, continuing forward into the Rolling Stone Lounge. So the Rolling Stone Lounge is going to be right here on your left, as you can see. And this is where they have live music, musicians and bands playing, kind of an intimate space. Some really nice booths toward the back of the room if you have a larger party that you want to sit with. And plenty of seating toward the center of the room. So as we proceed from the Rolling Stone Lounge forward toward the casino, in this corridor here, there are some spots that I would actually encourage you to seek out and just stop and take a look at. This little diorama of a theater, really, really neat. Cabinet with guns and swords and some more Delft blue pottery. Again, calling back to that Dutch heritage of the Holland America Cruise Line. Really interesting art diorama with an apple with a tiny slice cut out of it. Pretty fascinating stuff that they have here on the ship. I really haven't seen anything like it on other ships. Normally they just throw up a few pieces of art here and there and maybe a couple of sculptures and call it good, but it seems like a lot of attention was paid to decoration on the Eurodam, and I really appreciate it. So here is the billboard on board. This is the piano bar, and they have dueling pianos when it's active, sometimes in the evenings. And it's right here off the side of the casino space. Now, this is not, I mean, if you're interested in live music or you want to take a break from the casino, this would be a bar to hang out in, one of the 12 bars and lounges on board the ship, but not the place I would hang out to read and relax because you have constant noise from the slot machines and the gaming tables. Here they have blackjack tables and poker tables, as well as craps. So lots of table games for folks who are interested in playing some of the casino games. And of course, they have ample slot machines. I also saw some video poker machines throughout the space. Interesting, sort of a virtual poker table or electronic poker table. Kind of an interesting thing to have for an in-person casino. So here's the cashier space in the casino. You can also get information about lottery, bingo games, scratch-offs here. And then we will continue forward through the forward elevator level or area here on deck 2 and proceeding on into the world stage. Now we saw level 3 of the world stage earlier, so this is going to be a much briefer look, but the main thing I want to point out here is just that you have some bar stools where you can sit and enjoy a drink, actually have a place to put your drink. Not a lot of spaces for that, but there is a little bit here on deck 2 of the world stage. And then from there, you can proceed down an interior staircase here in the world stage, and that is going to take you from deck 2 down to deck 1 of the world stage, and then you can simply proceed toward the rear of the ship, and we'll continue on our journey that way. So here's just an example of one of the many stateroom corridors on the ship. We'll use some editing magic to speed up that lengthy walk. Those of you who've been on cruise ships before will be familiar with, sometimes you have to go down a stateroom corridor and they're fairly long. So that was the central elevator well we just passed through, and now we are headed into... Here is the internet cafe, relatively small internet cafe because everybody these days uses their mobile devices. But near here there's a little kiosk or a desk where someone will help you if you're having any trouble getting connected. They can assist you with that at that table. And then you have a seating area, lounge area, where you can be comfortable if you are with another person who has business to do at guest services. You can see guest services there in the back. I did not see too many terrible lines at guest services during the time that I was on board. It seemed to be fairly efficient. But if you had any business to do with guest services, this is where you might engage in that business right here in this space. And then I had one more thing I wanted to show you here on deck 1. Here, as you proceed a little bit more toward the back, there's a couple of nice wingback chairs, and there's not much music that's played in this area, so it's kind of quiet. And if you wanted to sit here and do some reading, the only downside is there's not really a window for you to enjoy, but that's a really nice spot. And so if you want a quiet place to just sit and hang out and read, deck 1 just off the side of guest services. And then we're going to proceed back through the future cruise desk. It's also here on deck 1 on sort of the opposite side from the guest services. And now, as promised, it's time for the secrets of the Eurodam. So back at deck 3, there's a bench here, middle of the ship. You are protected from the wind. You will be much warmer. Even on cool days, you won't have the wind catching you. Back here on deck 3, absolutely incredible views over the wake at the rear of the ship. You're much closer to the wake than is typically the case on many ships. The only problem is it can be kind of loud, but wonderful space to enjoy some views.
Okay, let me tell you what I think is probably my favorite Holland America Eurodam secret. All the way to the rear of deck 10, there is a vent, this vent right behind me, that every time I have checked puts out 80-degree air that smells like fresh baked bread. I assume it connects to the bakery vent hood. But no matter what the temperature is out on the deck, if you come stand right here, starboard side, rear of deck 10, you will be comfortable. I absolutely love cruise ships because they have these little magical secrets like this. So again, starboard side, rear of deck 10, magical bread spot, Holland America Eurodam. Please enjoy it.
And then the last Eurodam secret is something you actually might have seen a little earlier if you have a sharp eye. If you ask anybody on the ship where to get coffee, you get directed to the Crow's Nest up on deck 11. And as I said earlier, there's some long lines up there. I don't know why they don't point you to the Pinnacle bar, because the Pinnacle bar on deck 2 has a coffee grinder, and you can see that right there. And they will make iced coffee for you. They will make your coffee drinks anytime the Pinnacle bar is open. So you can skip the lines up on the Crow's Nest and get your coffee at the Pinnacle bar. That's secret number 3.
Well, that about does it for our tour of the Holland America Eurodam. Is there a cruise that you're looking forward to? Share all about it in the comments down below. Folks, we could not do this without your support. We really appreciate your viewership. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. This is Places, Plates, and Points, and we'll see you next time.